My name's Jack Hanks, that's Chris Courville. I'm the Experience Matter guy you see on a bunch of roofs in Florida and everywhere else. I've been doing this for a long time. 1991 was my first claim. Was anybody not born in 91? Oh my God. Ouch, that kind of hurt. Anyway, we're gonna talk a little bit about mending the fracture and what actual fracture is.
Good deal, and my name is Chris Courville. I'm the owner of IEC. I'm an interior environmentalist and consultant. So I handle all of Jack's and public adjusters files with a lot of attorneys across the country. So we put this presentation together, obviously with Experience Matters, and we combined it as a two-part series. We felt that part one is going to be very good for this one, leading into tomorrow with part two. So my presentation is documentation with definition, and I came up with this cool little slogan yesterday, and it's going to be build a file that isn't scared of trial. And that's what I do for all of my clients across the country, is to build a file that we can protect and we can defend, whether it goes to court, depositions, hopefully it doesn't go that way, but that's what this whole presentation is about.
Go ahead.
So, what is a fracture? Obviously, a fracture is a break or a cause of a break. Everybody thinks of a fracture when you think of a broken arm, you think of a fracture. But in this situation, it's a fracture between two industries that can't seem to come together. And we want to be better people, and we want to hopefully let you learn something from this and take something back to be a good person.
So back in my day, in the early 90s, I was a young, struggling general contractor, as Cal was. Mr. Merlin was just getting started in his law career. Mr. Patrick, we were probably in our early 30s back then, right? Things were different. Things were different. I was a general contractor, restoration guy for State Farm, for Farmers, for Crawford, for all the big companies, man. We were doing $25, $30 million a year in restoration work. And I was young and stupid thinking, this is the greatest thing in my entire life. I'm never gonna stop making money. I'm gonna make millions every year, right? We'd actually get called in on a fire. We would go there. I'd meet the adjuster. My guys would show up. We board the thing up, walk the scope, walk the house, and the freaking adjuster would write me a check. He would hand me the check to get started. Things changed. How many of you know what the McKinsey Report is? Anybody? Cool. If you don't, Google it and read it. It'll put you to sleep, but it's kind of how the whole thing started. Back in the early 90s, once again, when things were cool and easy, and we were picking up checks and making really cool money, and the insurance companies were actually working with us as general restoration contractors. PAs weren't even a thing. I didn't know any PAs back then. Cal, did you? Nope, never heard of one. We would get agreed scope, get the money, and go. So Allstate, back in the day, had this thing like, you know what, we're making great money. We're not making enough money. What are we gonna do? So they hired a company called McKinsey, right there. And once again, I encourage you to read this report. They paid, I don't know, 10, 12 million bucks for this report. McKinsey came in and dissected the entire Allstate company, underwriting, sales, marketing, the whole nine, administration, everything, and broke it down. And the CEO of Allstate his only agenda was, how can we make more money for our shareholders? Okay? You know what, Allstate, they took 2 years to research this and research it, and they came back with this huge report. It's 150,000 pages long, I believe. And guess what it said? Any guesses? Delay, deny, defend. And they're like, oh my God, that makes a lot of sense. So that's when things started shifting. It became harder and harder. As a general contractor, I went from doing the same amount of work for less, my profits were shrinking. State Farm I was on Premier Program with State Farm. They started implementing the same thing. They told me where to go buy my materials from Home Depot and how much they were gonna pay me. I became a restoration contractor. My best friend was the mailman. If the mail didn't come that day with those checks, I was screwed. I couldn't pay my drywaller, my mold guy. I couldn't pay any. It was horrible. It was a nightmare. We went from doing 35 million at 41% to 30 million at 8% in about 3 years. And that's no way to, it's gut-wrenching on your family and your friends and your business. So things started changing. they implemented all these programs. State Farm hired Travelers, State Farm, they all hired McKinsey to go through their books and figure this thing out. And it changed. State Farm also, as a fact, they count keystrokes for their adjusters to make sure they're doing so many emails per day. Okay, it's a thing. So they're auditing all these people. So what started happening was the exclusions started coming up. There was never any hail exclusions or high deductibles back in the day. It started changing and making it harder and harder. Communication, you couldn't even talk to these guys anymore. The desk adjusters were not existent. IAs, back in the day, they could make coverage decisions and actually get checks written. Now, IAs are what? Photograph takers, right? Glorified photographers. Thank you, Melanie. We see it every day. Incorrect evaluations. You guys understand if they don't train them, they have plausible deniability not to get bad faith because they don't know that they were doing something wrong, right? Makes sense, right? If I don't train my guys and they don't know they're doing something wrong, it's not their fault. It's not my fault that I didn't, boom, boom. That's how it works. Overwhelming workloads, man. How many files can a good adjuster handle? 30, 40?
At least.
They're handling hundreds and hundreds of claims right now, so the quality is down. It's horrible. Biggest thing also, guys, they outperform us on every level of this. Okay, the lobbying and control of the officials in the state level. That's why some of these complaints that we turn in the Department of Insurance never get answered, because they control that. They own that stuff. They contribute to the elections. Don't be naive, man. It's driven by the country's driven by oil, gas, and insurance companies. Okay, they have all the friggin' money, not us, right? Mm-hmm. So it's getting harder and harder and harder and harder. All these companies up here, man, the Mad Skies, the Cold Blues, they were nothing when I was back in young. It's all different now, and they're all controlled by profits. Profits. I'm a for-profit organization. We have to be. However, I try to do ethically and morally, right? I try to write my scopes and do a decent job and make sure I do get my insured taken care of. The insurance companies are no more than marketing firms anymore, right? Okay? We, on our side, I think, contributed to some of that as well.
Absolutely.
Yep, your turn.
So that's one side of why the industry has a fracture. The second side is the hard side of the pill to swallow that is in this room. The carriers, obviously, what Jack has said, but this is the truth of the matter here is that property attorneys, public adjusters, roofers, restoration companies, general contractors, tree debris contractors. This is some of the bullet points that we need to mend the fracture and work on. Never actually work in the file. There's a lot of people that never work the file. They send it straight to an attorney, send it straight to appraisal, and never actually work the file. How does that make us look to the carrier or even to the policyholder that we should be representing? Signing more claims and clients than the firm can successfully manage. That's a huge problem. We see that in every storm.
Huge.
We work storms across the country, and door knocking and signing up every single claim that we know that just never is really going to get worked out and never going to get made whole. Overcharging and throwing items against the wall, that's the number one why we don't have trust with the carriers, in my professional opinion, is that if it didn't happen, then why are we charging for it? I'm in the mitigation world and in the environmentalist world, so I see it every day. I can't speak on behalf of public adjusters and what they write for, but I can see it from the mitigation companies. And when I get hired by a carrier to clerk and to peer review mitigation companies' exactimates, I cringe because I want to be as non-biased as possible, but I have to be fair and I have to be truthful. So when you add all these charges into these exactimates and expect to get paid for it just because you think it's an open bank account by the carrier, it's not going to happen because somebody is going to be more truthful than what you are.
And guys, every once in a while you see on Facebook, hey, I got this one paid. That's a 1 in a million shot, right? Be legitimate on your scopes and your estimates because they know. The carriers know what this stuff is.
Absolutely.
The days of fooling people in this business is over. You guys got that, right? It's over. Be legit, write a good scope, and be a professional.
Sure.
You're not going to fool State Farm anymore, guys. It's not going to happen. So stop trying, please.
Absolutely, and that goes back to throwing it against the wall. And you know, coming from a vendor standpoint, working for public adjusters and working for attorneys across the country, you got to hold your vendors accountable. You have to know what they've done. If you don't know that that mitigation company has taken out the correct walls, or you don't know if that company has set up dehues and stuff for true 3 days of drying and possibly 10 days of drying, you're going into the fight based off of what you assume that a professional has done. And if you don't know your jobs or know exactly what they've done, guess who's going to lose? You're going to lose, and your policyholder is going to lose, and you won't be able to get their money because someone is going to peer review your vendors' exactimates, and we're going to find out the truth. And you're going to have to defend something that's not true. And I don't want y'all to be in that position to have to do that without having the truthful information. So anybody that's on your job site, whether you bring them in or whether the policyholder hires them, or even a preferred vendor that comes in by the carrier, know exactly what they're doing. Don't tell them how to do their job. Don't tell them, you know, the industry standards. They should know that. But at the same time, take notes. If you see 20 dehues on this commercial site, jot down 20 dehues. And if you see that they're charging for 30, then call them out and say, hey, I got documentation that you charge for 30 dehues. Why are you charging my policyholder that it's going to come out of someone's allocations at some point in time on that claim? You have the duty to protect your policyholder and make sure that they are made whole. And that's the biggest fracture that I see from a vendor standpoint as you know, working for public adjusters and attorneys.
And once you're a liar, you're a liar. You turn something fraudulent in, you're a freaking liar, and you know better than they are on the other side. So be better than that, guys. Be better than that.
Yes.
Please.
Going to the next ones, your missed deadlines.
Oh,
Jack can hit on all of this. Your missed deadlines, that's huge in this industry that we have a fracture on. You know, you don't turn in your proof of loss in time. You don't turn in a LOR in time. All these documentations that don't get turned in on time cost you time, cost you trust, cost you your reputation, and it's just not worth it. Get it done right the first time, turn it in, make it truthful, and your claim should be successful. Abuse of an AOB.
Good God.
If anybody's working right now in Florida, that's probably the one controversy that comes off across the board every Thursday on our podcast and YouTube. Every conference that we go to, every Facebook is AOB that. You know why everybody is in controversy of AOB? It's because contractors and mitigation companies have ruined the chance of an AOB, of being completely untrustworthy and being fraudulent by using AOBs to do that. And that's personally how we feel across the board, is abuse of an AOB. Unlicensed activity. I mean, everybody here, public adjuster, attorney, MIT companies, you know, has to have a license. And we can name tons of them in Florida right now that don't have a mold license to produce a mold remediation. Don't even know that you're supposed to have a mold assessor like myself to write you a protocol before you remove that drywall. And there's so many of them right now that are doing that the chances of them getting caught is slim to none.
And how many PAs are doing work in states they're not licensed in? It drives me insane. Guys,
exactly.
It takes, what, an hour to get your bond and send it in and pay the $75? It's nothing.
So how are we going to mend the fracture when we're doing just as bad things as what the carrier's doing? Most of these things is what we need to better ourselves to where we can always be on the offense and not on the defense. If you're on the offense and you have all of these things and you're trustworthy and you're doing it, you should have nothing to hide, nothing to prove. You're doing everything right, and you're going to build that trust with that adjuster and that company. So the lack of communication, not answering your phone. When you have bad news for your client, when you have bad news for your vendor that you haven't got mitigation paid yet, suck it up and tell them about it. Do not hide it from them. Do not avoid them. Do not, not answer the phone. Do not ghost them. Talk to them and communicate with them. It will go a long ways. It will make you sleep at night, and it will gain that trust and that reputation that, hey, that guy's going to shoot me straight.
And guys, no is okay. You get that, right? No is okay.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to tell your clients no, you don't have coverage, or no, I can't take this claim.
Yeah.
So many PAs are out there grabbing everything to get their damn hands on.
I can go to a large loss claim for Jack or anybody in this room, And he knows that when I get there, if I don't find anything or I think that it's a loss that's not going to work, I'm going to tell him.
Yep.
You're wasting your time fighting for this. You might can go get the roof because I have no idea about roofs. But if you're fighting to get this whole place demoed and you're fighting to get all of this water mitigation done and I don't have the evidence and documents to prove it, I'm out. Because if you want to fight it, you fight it. You hire someone else, you fight it. Because I cannot prove it when I get on that deposition or when I get in court. I'm not going to be the bad guy. You go handle it. I decline your job. We're still buddies. We'll still drink beer at the end of the day.
A lot of beer.
My job, that's not my job.
I mean, you're going to drag your clients through a 6-month or 9-month process with no hope of victory. Hope is not a business plan, guys. You get that, right? Hope is not a business plan.
Yeah.
Okay? Be truthful, be honest, be transparent. That's what they hired us for. They don't know what the hell to do with the claim. They hired us to represent them the right way. And the right way is sometimes those hard decisions and those hard discussions you got to have. Mrs. Jones, I'm sorry. You know what? You have an ACV policy. I'm probably not going to be able to help you. Right? I can't. It sucks.
These two last one, guys, if you don't take away anything from there and you don't want to change it, then we can't change that. But these two last ones is just what a good Christian, good human being should do, is have the lack of compassion that we see in all of these storms and all of these situations. It goes back to pretty much what all of these speakers talked about pretty much all day. Was you're not working. It's not the love of money. It's the love of helping someone. Especially if anybody here is working storms, this is geared directly to you. But at the same time, y'all are all working losses. These clients have lost items. We take for granted that we get to go to a house at the end of our day. Some of us get to go to a house at the end of our day, and our children has their clothes. We have a bed to sleep in. We still have a roof over our head, but most of everybody's clients in here does not.
So as a group as a whole, and I'm horrible at this, and we talk about it all the time, is the lack of empathy. Because when I go into a storm, I'm in frickin' hurricane business mode. Man, I'm not looking at the wedding dresses and the photo albums and the personal items they've lost. And I have a horrible tendency to go right to the business mode and start adjusting that claim in my head and going from A to Z, right? And that's a horrible trait I have. And I'm doing really hard work to overcome that. Empathy is a thing as an industry. If we can get a hold of that thing and get these people to connect on a personal level and let them know that we actually give a damn about their claim, it's going to make them feel better. Because like Chris said, you know, we're in homes all the time in Florida, like the last couple of months. The shit's gone. Their shit is gone. They lost everything, and a lot don't have flood coverage, so they're not going to get that back, right? And they call me at 8 o'clock on a Friday. The last thing I want to do is talk about a claim at 8 o'clock on a Friday, because I am wore the hell out like you guys are. But at the same time, I got to suck it up because they hired me to be that sounding board, and sometimes they got to just vent. So we're really trying to, as our team, is have more empathy on our side, because, man, I lack that. And I got to do so much better as an individual at that, because they're just
I think
not
we all
just,
can do better as an individual with that.
They're not just hiring us to be their public adjuster or their environmentalist or their attorney. They're hiring us because they don't know what the hell to do. They don't know what the hell to do.
You can have that you're always going to have that handful of clients that are going to call you nonstop. They have questions. They do not understand the process. Louisiana with Hurricane Ida was one of the worst. It was just a different part of individuals. They just didn't know the process. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And but Naples from New Orleans is completely two different people. So exactly. And I'm from Baton Rouge, so I know exactly how it is. But they're going to call, and you just have to take a deep breath and say, and just take a deep breath and say, and remember, this lady has lost everything. Yeah. She might even lost a family member. You never know. So you have to take a deep breath and remember that she is trusting you to put her house back together. Whether it's a Saturday, Sunday, you're watching a ball game, she hired you for a reason. So answer the phone, show some compassion, listen to her. If you don't have the answer right in front of you, just tell her you'll call her back.
And that's okay too, but you got to listen. Sometimes they just need to vent, man. Yeah, they just need to vent.
And that goes back to the last one. If we do those and don't change, then we lose the trust of the policyholder. And you know who wins when we lose the trust of the policyholder? The carrier. When we are not wanted anymore, They have no choice but to side with the carrier, take whatever they get. Where, you know, in the state of Florida, y'all are locusts. And
some of us are, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. The only way to defend yourself from all of the bad publicity and the officials calling you guys bad names is to not do this. If you want to change and mend the fracture, at least in our industry, we can't change what they do right away, but we can change it by being better. And if you want to be better, don't do these things. And it's very simple. So leaving up to that, we went through carrier fractures. This is our own fractures. And then we'll go into how can we mend the fracture? What do we need to do to mend the fracture? Go ahead.
So guys, I can honestly tell you, I've sent my team to Cal's class, Steve's class,
You need this?
and Matt Mahalan's class. Because guess what? I don't have all the freaking answers. I'm old as dirt, right? I've done a million claims. I still don't know everything. So I want to make sure they get a different perspective from everybody because they learn, I mean, they learn stuff from everybody in this room. And our job is to mentor the new people coming into this room and into this business to be better and be stronger and not make the same mistakes we made that we ruined the public adjusting world, man.
I want to hit on something with that too, Jack. And going back to the mentorship, I have a really quick story. You have to understand too that not only is these new contractors and these new public adjusters that are coming in that has 1 year's experience, we have a lot of new field adjusters that's on the carrier side, and they're humans as well. I went in Hurricane Ida, I worked my own aunt's claim. I was there 2 days after the storm. State Farm rep, I'll never forget Olivia. This is her first storm, first adjuster's job. This poor girl came up to probably a $450,000 loss. My aunt lost her roof, flooded the whole house, 2-story house. She comes up in her little Toyota Corolla, no ladder, wearing some Converse shoes, had a brand new tool bag, and she had no idea what she was doing. I could have ate her lunch up. I could have been the biggest asshole that she ever saw. But you take that girl and you show her. At that time, I had all the documents done. I had it all Matterported. I had it all thermaled. I had a moisture map for her. I had a blank ESX file started. And I took her through that inspection, and I taught her, hey, look, Olivia, you see this roof here, and I'm not an exterior guy, but I did my best to do it. I showed her everything. And just the appreciation that she had of someone actually teaching her that was on the other side, that she knew, that could have ate her lunch and handed her butt, she went back and told her supervisor that and gave him my file. She was a glorified picture taker. But you know what that happened? We got 75% of the undisputed funds within 2 weeks of that job, just because her supervisor called and said, I really appreciate you taking care of my staff out there. Right. That goes to show you, but it doesn't matter if she's wearing a State Farm shirt. It really doesn't matter. She's a human being starting her career out. Why bust her chops? And she would, if I would have done that, she probably would have quit and never adjusted again.
And your client would not have been taken care of.
And my client would have been taken care of. We would have had to call for a new adjuster. We had to do the whole process. But I wasn't even worried about the process of the claim at that point. I was worried about that girl starting her career off and not having a bully that was just gonna have it to her. And I just can't stand for that. And you know, we take all of these young adjusters, we take all of these young contractors underneath our wing, and we want to build them up. We want to build them up to be the best that they can. But what about those other new adjusters that are out there? Yep. Why are they different? They might jump to this side one day, but just by you being a good person.
Well, and the thing is, too, I want to caution everybody, like, it drives me nuts. Like, I'm on level playing field and SVG. People ask questions, and they get blown up. Steve, am I right? Because they don't know. The reason they're asking because they don't know, and you read the comments, and like, you're a dumbass, you're stupid. You guys, we got to stop.
Yeah.
We got to stop that. We got to answer the questions because I didn't know shit when I started, and I still don't know everything, right? But we learned the hard way, man, by screwing things up for our clients. If these newbies or even people who've been there for 30 years are asking questions, it's because they don't know. Take a pause, answer the question like a professional, and give them the guidance they need to get the answers, because that's going to make them a better PA, a better contractor, a better roofer to help the industry. Don't blow them up. I see Steve posting all the time, please be nice, be kind, be kind, be kind. Damn it, guys, work together, okay? It's so important.
And same thing, I don't know how many vendors are in here for us contractors or MIT companies. I know a couple of them I met. Same thing for you guys. I can't speak for the public adjusters. I'll let Jack handle that. But the vendors as well. You see on the NRPP pages, you see on the Restoration Rebels pages, you see all of these guys that bash and not answer questions. I get called, I bet I probably spend more time answering questions from other people than what I actually answer questions from my clients. If you can better the industry, there's so much work out there, guys. You're never going to be a competitor of another person, especially if you work in storms. Oh. So for me to hold information of what I know and for someone that's just starting out in the mold industry or don't know how to write a protocol or don't know how to take asbestos samples or don't know anything about lead or how the state laws and stuff, just take 5 minutes and be a good person and explain that to them and help them. That's going to go a long way because what's going to happen is they're going to want you on their team. I get it. It happened last week on a high rise in Fort Myers. Just so happened that the HOA president's nephew owned an environmental company. Called me up, said, Chris, look, I got 37 rooms that's got mold. How should we set it? So I took 10 minutes just to explain it to him. And you know what the next day call was? Chris, I need you out here. I want to partner with you. This job is way too big. It's that. Just that 10-minute phone call of me helping him and not even telling him that I'm in the back of my brain thinking that he's out of his league. But I'm not going to tell. That's not my position to tell him he's out of his league. I'm going to help the man to do what he needs to do. But I ended up getting the job because he knew that someone else was more qualified for that. I applaud him for having the balls to do that and not letting his ego get the best of him to protect his client. And that's how the industry should be. If you don't feel comfortable with your job, bring a partner in. Work together to make sure that your policyholder is taken care of. That's the end game. That's the total end solution is no matter who you bring in, put that ego to the side, bring in someone that can handle it, work together, learn from them, and the next time you won't need that person.
Right. And be available. Be available.
Yep. So that goes back to, we hit on all of these and being honest, being a good human. Provide only facts. I know Jack wanted to hit on that. This is huge, guys, the facts.
So we have, our firm started May 1st of 2021, right? I'm a year and a half into this firm. I have 1,000 claims we've signed. Guess how many I have in litigation? 9. Okay, everything else is getting paid, or has gotten paid, because we stick with the facts and proper documentation. It's literally that simple. I have great environmentalists, I have great consultants, I have great engineers I work with. Dude, we're public adjusters. We're not mold experts, right? We're not water damage experts. We're policy guys. Our job is to get coverage and let the experts tell us what the hell it is. That's an engineer. That's a John Pruitt problem to tell me how it failed. I don't know. You guys write the reports. Our job is to gather the information and put the facts in front of the carrier so they can make a determination on how much and the coverage is there. And if we do our job properly, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a little bit of a fight, don't get me wrong, but they're going to pay that claim properly. They usually do if you do it right. Instead of fighting out of the gate, ask them what they need from you to make it work. Every time, dude, make these little parking lot conversations with these guys. What do you need from me to get this claim paid? Yep. And 99.999% of the time, I'm going to hand them a transparent file with all the write-ups that we gather from our team to present to them. Absolutely. That's the idea. Not this an Xactimate 3-page stupid estimate. I mean, come on, right? Let's get real with it. Large losses are hard and they're difficult and they're expensive, but you got to do them right. Yep.
And tomorrow, guys, you're not going to want to miss part 2. We're going to get into how that works and why it's important to build building a team is one thing, but building a team of experts that can sit on a deposition and that can go to court if you need to and build a file that I can hand over to this man or anyone in this room that when he goes to defend that, it is solid. If he gets called in on the question, he don't need to answer that question. You pay me to answer that question.
Exactly.
I'm your person that answers that question.
Once
You
again, know
refer
your
them to
lanes,
me.
guys. Know your lanes.
Know your lanes. You
Okay.
don't. He doesn't know anything about the mold aspect.
I'm the dumbest guy in the room, guys, for a reason, and it works.
But at the same time, Jack, you didn't take my photos. You didn't take my air samples.
No.
You didn't do none of that. So why should I turn over a file to you and get paid and go on? We're in this together.
Right.
So and honestly, the last part of it is protect the insured. That is the number one goal here. So part 2 tomorrow is going to be very important. We're looking very forward to teaching you part 2 tomorrow. We're going to get further into that, but this presentation is just about the fracture part.
And guys, get your people into these, especially this is a great one, but these other ones are great too. Same as, I'm sorry. No, training is so important, man. Like I said, when Cal and I started, dude, I literally got my license and I started going out. I didn't have any idea what I was doing, none. I winged it because I thought I was a restoration contractor. I thought, shit, this is going to be easy. This is going to be easy being a PA. I don't got to build this stuff anymore. I just got to negotiate it. Good God, man, was I wrong? Holy crap. Am I right, Cal? Dude, it's a different world. You guys, you new PAs, man, it's not just about writing Xactimate. It's a lot. To do it right, it's a lot. It's a lot of hard work, and you gotta love it. Like, there was a slide about loving what you do. You gotta love it because it's a thing. And if you don't, do something else because you're harming the insureds, right? That's the shitty part to this.
Yep. And with the Xactimate, you could be the best Xactimate writer that you can write. You can write the best Xactimate anyone's seen, but without the facts to why you charge those charges, it's zero.
Dude, to be transparent, I haven't opened Xactimate in 5 years.
True story.
Have not opened Xactimate in 5 years.
True story.
And I have a pretty damn good firm because I have people that do that know more than I do. That's not my thing, right?
That's right.
Okay.
And when he turns in an Xactimate, he has structural engineers, he has my reports, he has my Matterport, he has all of my testing to back that up. He has my pre-testing to show that the house is unlivable. So he has to, that warrants his ALE. So he's not fighting ALE. You don't need to fight ALE. If you prove that the house is unlivable by having mold spores in it, what more? What more?
Yeah.
Are they willing to get a health lawsuit because they don't want to pay ALE? No, they're not. The proof is in the pudding.
And guys, keep in mind, as public adjusters, our job is to prove the loss. It's not the carrier's responsibility. It's the insured's. It's in the policy to prove the loss. And we get hired as a PA. Our job is to prove that loss from start to finish, not some random ass Xactimate estimate. It's the whole package, right? You have to prove the damages that occurred on that particular time and date from that loss. Period.
And also hitting on that, and I don't think that's in tomorrow's part, but we could talk about it too, is that the speed of when you get that turned in. We want to have that blank ESX for my Matterport. We want to have all of that documentation. We want to have that structural engineer. We want to have his team with the Xactimates. We want to have all of that in preparation to the adjuster even getting out to the job. And we're going to turn every single thing into that adjuster.
Yeah.
We are not holding back one single document. If that adjuster wants it, he gets it. And if he don't want it, he's still getting it anyway. Because we do not want to come back and say, well, where's those dry logs from that mitigation company? Okay, I got to go to the mitigation company. I got to get the dry logs. I got to get them to the adjuster. He's got to look at them. We done lost 2 weeks. 2 weeks from our policyholder not getting paid and a mitigation company not getting paid.
And you're not getting paid.
And you're not getting paid.
Yeah.
So therefore, the adjusters, desk adjusters, and the carrier gets every single piece of documentation. We do not want to be labeled as holding something back just as a smoking gun if we need it. Here's our file. We're moving on to the next one and pay our bill. That's pretty much all it is.
There's no more smoking guns, guys. That's over with. That's over with. There's no magic wands anymore. It's all science. It's all data. And it's just being ethical and being honest and being transparent. That's going to make you guys the money and get these things done. It's that simple.
And from a vendor standpoint, the public adjuster's job is to protect the insured and document or fight for the loss and represent that policyholder. He shouldn't have to worry about going through all of the vendors' informations. They should be, if you produce a team put together of professionals that you trust, you should not have to question them. You should go to the bank with it. And the public adjuster, we want them to concentrate on taking care of that policyholder, fighting to get the money and getting more jobs, because ultimately that leads to us having more work. If he has to worry about that, then we're failing our client, and y'all are my client, So I would fail him if I just gave him all the documentation, said, here it is, here's my invoice, pay it, I'm out. That's not fair. That's not doing any duty to him, not doing any duty to the policyholder. We're in it together. You hired me as a professional and as an expert. I'm in it to the end. And that's how every single vendor in this place should be, and every single vendor that works for you should be. And if they're not, find a new vendor. So, any questions? Sure.
So you're a mitigation contractor, that's what you talked about, submitting your documentation to the public adjuster?
No, I am Jax, and I work for quite a few people in here, but I am the interior consultant. So I do all the testing, I do all of the asbestos testing, I do all the protocols, I do all the documentation for the loss. The policyholder can hire whoever mitigation company they want.
Yep.
But if that mitigation company come to any of my clients' jobs, they know they better be fair, and they know that they better document it properly. We're going to get into that tomorrow of what a mitigation company should. So the documentation with definition part 2 is going to be what you guys need to have in your file before you turn it in. It's very, very important.
I never turn a water mid company loose until I have the protocols done.
Yep.
Because I want a third party telling them what they need to do, not themselves. Right? Makes sense.
Stop loss mitigation while you're waiting for the documentation to come in?
What's that?
Are you doing stop loss mitigation?
No, because he's out there within 24 hours.
Yep.
And you have your stuff turned in that time?
Boom.
Absolutely.
And you have approval from the carrier for mitigation?
Now, to that point, stabilization, all that type of stuff, absolutely. Go ahead and get that done to
Yeah.
where we can't get any we want to be on the offense with that. We properly stabilize setup containment, but no ripping out, no mitigation until I document it properly.
And what's nice is so the cool part is my guys work on both sides of the fence,
Yep.
right? He works for both sides. There's nothing they can bitch about, right?
So
Just to clarify, you're only getting paid to document the loss, you're not getting paid to do any reconstruction work or anything?
I'm the environmental consultant. Anything that goes on inside that home, leading up to the contractor coming in, it's my responsibility.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
You don't need no authorization for, to have them come in, you don't ask the insurance.
No, I do.
You do?
The insured technically hires Chris
Yes.
on my recommendation, okay? His fee is above and beyond my fee. However, a $2,000 investment into a $500,000 claim is a no-brainer. That's the idea. So once again, I need to make my file bulletproof. Have an ABC restoration guy go in there and start ripping shit out isn't bulletproof. He's making it bulletproof by having the proper documentation. Then the guy can come in and do his thing. Then we go in behind and make sure they did it right.
Correct me if I'm wrong, you're actually collecting his fee from the carrier. Because
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Yes. But what we're doing is we're just making sure that, and there's a lot of good mitigation company out there, guys. They're very good ones out there. And I don't tell them processes. I don't tell them procedures. I don't tell them how to do their job. I write up what the loss is and the facts of what I find. They could set up their air movers however they feel is necessary based off their process. They're still going to do their own documentation. They're still going to take their own photos. They're going to take all of their own moisture readers. They're going to produce all of their own moisture mapping. They're going to produce all of their own dry logs. I'm not there to change any part of their process, but they know and they're held accountable. The accountability is huge in the mitigation world. I'm pretty sure every single one of y'all has saw outrageous mitigation invoices that are sent. And none of y'all, unless you have somebody that clerks it, knows if it's right or wrong.
Yes, sir.
You're looking for mold, you're looking for lead, asbestos, what else are you looking for?
Air quality, we're doing the air quality before that.
I ain't looking for mold.
Yeah,
I ain't looking for mold. I'm looking for water damage.
that's right. So we do not make.
Write that down.
Yep. So we're doing a full-blown documentation of what ceilings are wet, where the opening came from, the cause that, the path of water, all of that. So we're producing a full-blown documentation of that.
Yeah, don't ever say mold. I've been doing this for a long time. I don't have mold in my claims anymore. I have a lot of water fucking damage. I don't have any mold.
Ms. Tina? Your church that's coming up? Yeah, so I'll be out there on Thursday night to be there Friday and Saturday with my team. And once I get a better understanding of the whole church, I will produce all documentations. I want to see your engineering report. I want to see everything.
Yes, but will you hear from my office?
Absolutely. Of course, I'll teach your whole office on what I did.
Or what we should have done?
Or what you should have done. Absolutely. So I love that.
We're pretty good, however, it's
Absolutely. And I've seen some of your files, Ms. Tina. Your documentation is very solid. And I look forward to learning from your files as well. We do a lot of things very, very similar. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Haynes,
Yes, ma'am.
I'll see you in Florida and we'll have an empathy lesson.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm a type A Gemini only child, so it's a lot, right? So, yeah. Good luck.
All right, so the agenda
I'm single.
tomorrow is very important. We want to show y'all this so y'all can be back, I think, what, 11:45?
11:45 tomorrow.
So-
Big stuff tomorrow.
It's going to be great. I'm really excited about tomorrow. The importance of team building. This is not just producing a secretary or a project manager. That's not producing just a normal staff that you need to run a business. This is team building of experts that you need to win your claim. This is going to be huge tomorrow. The importance of expert personnel is kind of built into that. The importance of educating the policyholder. A lot of policyholders have no idea what's going to happen based from the truthfulness of how long it's going to take, the fees, the possibility of litigation. You want to make sure that you brief that policyholder on that. Documentation based on facts and a non-biased
See
approach.
the key word there, guys? Non-biased. My experts are non-biased.
Yes,
We're doing a huge claim in Jackson, Mississippi. Guess who I brought in?
absolutely.
ServPro.
The largest ServPro in the country is here in Chicago, Illinois.
I brought them down to
to
Jackson, Mississippi, because how are they going to tell
Sir?
ServPro no? Right?
You want to
Use them
know
all the
why?
time.
You want to know? Well, we're going to hit on that tomorrow. But
Yep.
while we're talking about that, the reason why is just like the PA world, just like the adjuster world. There's bad eggs in every basket. This guy is probably one of the best men in the industry, and he just so happens to own one of the biggest ServPros, and that's a large loss. They don't do houses. They don't do none of this. Large loss, and he's proved himself to us. What happens is that how is Church Mutual or State Farm going to not pay his invoice? They pay it every day. He's non-biased. ServPro's a preferred vendor. I'm a preferred vendor. How can they already have us in the system. So Jack brings in the proper personnel that not only are they the best guys, but we're already in the system. They know that we're gonna present us facts. They know our rate sheets. They know that they're time and material prices. So we're cutting out all of this dispute from pricing because they already know it.
And their report from State Farm looks like my report that I just did, right? It's the same report. They can't fight that, guys.
That's part of building a team.
Yeah.
Of the right personnel. Document every file must have before submission. That's what I was talking to you guys about the files that you must have before you turn it in, because it's going to save you tremendous amounts of time. Closing statement and a recap, and then we'll ask questions at the end of tomorrow.
Any questions, guys?
Is there anything else?
Y'all tired? Ready for some cocktails?
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for that.